I'm Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas. I have enjoyed being with you for a fairly early breakfast every year. One of the best and one of the greatest groups that we can support, my friends at Jackson County CASA. But this year is different in many ways. Not only are we together virtually, but we know our young people have been through so much this year. Despite the changes and the challenges that so many families and kids have faced, we know that our CASA staff and volunteers continue to do outstanding work for Kansas City and all of our children, not just in Jackson County, but all around Missouri and Kansas. I want to say thank you to all of you for caring, for being concerned, and for celebrating this outstanding organization, but more than anything, in lifting up our young people, making sure that they know they're loved, making sure that they know they have opportunities in the long term in life. But more than anything, I also want to say, let's continue to support this year. We may not be in the same room, but make sure you dig deep to support this outstanding organization, our young people, our city. It makes a difference each and every day. I thank you on behalf of the people of Kansas City and our city council. God bless you all, and thank you for looking out for our children.
Mayor Lucas, thank you for that morning message. Good morning. I'm John Holt with Fox 4 News. A little early for me. Hope you don't mind that I slept in this last night to be up and ready to go. And I don't see quite as many of you out there, but I know you're there, back as your MC for this Light of Hope virtual breakfast. So we thank you for getting up bright and early to be with us to support Jackson County CASA. And I'm joined by my favorite breakfast co-anchor, the president and CEO of CASA, Angie Blumel. Angie, good morning.
Good morning,
I see we've got
John.
our breakfast coffee right here. Huh?
Right. Cheers.
Socially distanced properly. There we go. Cheers to everyone.
Cheers. Thank you. Good morning.
Good to see you again. I wish we were all together in the ballroom and able to see the friendly faces out there, but, you know, we're going to do just fine this morning. Right?
That's right. That's right. I'm super excited because I think we have nearly 1,000 folks tuning in this morning. So
that might be the biggest audience I've ever had, by the way. Just kidding. I know we have a terrific morning planned for our guests, so let's get started. First and foremost, an event like this can't happen without a team of supporters, and Jackson County CASA wants to give special thanks, as we do every year, to our honorary chairs, Kelly and Ron Lockton. Thank you for your support. Our presenting sponsor, Lockton Companies, and the Committee of Hope Steering Committee. And thanks also to our lead supporters, Gary and Kathy Bussing, America's Auto Auction, Brian and Linda Johnson, Larry and Carol Blumel, Sandy and Ed Freed, Peter and Carmen Kowalski, and Midavani Corporate Immigration Law Firm. Now be sure to stay tuned for a little bit later in the program for a full listing of the many generous supporters and donors to Light of Hope. We could not, Angie, do it without them.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. I also want to thank our partners at Family Court and Children's Division. Thank you to the Honorable Jalila Otto, Administrative Judge for Family Court Division, the Honorable Nancy Alemafar, the Honorable William Jackson III, the Honorable Katie Rooney, Court Administrator Mary Marquez, Deputy Court Administrator Teresa Bird, and Director of the Office of Guardian Ad Litem, Kathy Rogers. We can't forget our friends at Children's Division. Special thanks to Regional Director Brian West. Thanks also goes to CASA's terrific team of Laura Clover, Jessica Kerrigan, and Tahir Atwater for making all of this happen behind the scenes. Most importantly, I want to thank our CASA volunteers, the amazing staff and board of directors. 2020 was a difficult year for us, but even more so for the children and families we serve. You demonstrated what dedication, determination, and perseverance look like. Thank you.
Overcoming a lot of challenges in what was a very strange year, and even as we get into 2021. And speaking of dedication, you have a very dedicated person heading your board of directors in Mira Midavani. I recall that she was the honorary chair with Midavani Corporate Immigration Law Firm, serving as the presenting sponsor just a few years ago when we were live in the ballroom, right?
That's right. That's a good memory, John. You're absolutely right. We had a terrific year that year, and she is just a terrific board chair. We're lucky to have her at CASA.
We certainly are, and let's hear from her right now. Mira, take it away.
Good morning. My name is Miram Divani. I'm honored to lead the Jackson County CASA board as its 2021 chair. Welcome to the 21st Annual Light of Hope Breakfast. The purpose of the Light of Hope Breakfast is to celebrate our volunteers and generous donors who make Jackson County CASA's work possible. I would like to especially thank our honorary co-chairs, Ron and Kelly Lockton, for their strong support of this year's event. I'd like to thank our board, staff, and volunteers for their tireless commitment to this effort. And finally, I would like to thank you for joining us today. The pandemic has changed a number of things last year, but one thing that has not changed is the need our children have for strong and generous advocates to give them a voice in the family court system. Thank you for helping us support the mission of Jackson County CASA.
Good morning. Welcome to the 21st Annual Light of Hope Breakfast. Kelly and I are honored to be your co-chairs for this event. And while we wish we could be with you in person, we're grateful that you've chosen to join us online.
Ron and I agreed to co-chair this event because CASA's mission is important to us and to our community. I have been a CASA volunteer since 2019, and my first case closed last October with the child being reunified with their family. I accepted another case, and I am working with a new young woman with a completely different set of challenges, made more complicated by this pandemic.
This work and these outcomes are why we support CASA. No matter what the challenge, CASA trains volunteers to meet the children where they are and advocate for the best outcome. Today, we'd like to thank the many donors and sponsors of this event who have made caring for the children of Jackson County a priority. Your support enables volunteers like Kelly to work with CASA and advocate for the best interests of a child. Your contribution makes you part of this great CASA team.
So with that, we'd like to say thank you so much for supporting and being part of this great team.
We're so pleased to present this year's Light of Hope Award to Jewish Family Services, also known as JFS, and the Robinson family.
JFS has a broad mission. We help families and individuals in financial distress. We help people of all ages with mental health challenges, and we help older adults who want to stay in their home, and we help them stay there safely and independently as long as they can.
They're an amazing organization. Their reach in the community is far greater than I think most people know, but they are my number one stop for any family that I know does need additional resources. Typically, JFS is able to either provide what we need or point us in the right direction.
When CASA and JFS first started coming up with the idea of working together, one of the things that we thought was a challenge was that some of the funding areas were unusual. And so talking to Irv Robinson and the Robinson family, they thought this was a great way to help. They didn't care about the specific rules of how the funding would work. What they cared about was, would the funding have an impact on the family? And so they were a perfect partner for us to work with as we got this project off the ground.
There was a need for special situations where the children were not able to go into their foster care yet, but there were needs that were really emergency kind of needs. And so our families focused on kids at risk, and it seemed like a new idea that was obviously very much needed, and so we jumped in.
So a lot of times our CASAs, in their role of advocating for our children and families, realize that our families have some barriers to reunification or maintaining a placement. So we have a pool of resources that can help smooth some of those rough spots.
And what JFS and the Robinson Family Foundation have done is provide them some much needed assistance and relief in a time of some pretty great difficulty. So for instance, we have this amazing emergency services and enrichment program. So our kids might need basic toiletries, they might need help with rent, they might need help with moving, just those everyday things that some of us might take for granted. And JFS and the Robinson Family Foundation make it possible for our kids.
We believe in Tikkun Olam, which is we are here to repair the world. And in our lifetime, it is our responsibility to give back and do good in the world. And that's how it supports our faith. Like, that's just part of how we're raised from early on. We give back, and that's part of who we are.
We chose to involve the whole family really for a couple different reasons. We had a family business, so we were in business together. Everyone was a stockholder. And to really make some of our values come to life outside of business, we chose to do this together.
How could anyone not support CASA? It's heartbreaking to know that there are kids out there who require this kind of help. So to the extent that our support is able to provide these kids with a little bit of stability in their lives means a tremendous amount.
Based on all the discussions that we've had, it's the ability to see the immediate impact on the individuals that you're helping.
Well, it was like being able to put a hand on where your money went and how it helped someone. To hear that our money bought a car seat and fixed a car and, actual things that actually help someone get by was just really fulfilling.
The impact that this very small amount can help keep a family together, I think, is really powerful. And I think that means a lot to us. Family is really important to our lives. And so I think the idea that our money can go help a family stay together and help keep these lives intact, I think, is really powerful.
The idea of helping the most vulnerable of the vulnerable and having these kids represented in their interests, which is what CASA does, is just, it's God's work. And we're privileged to be part of it, and it's one of our family's most meaningful nonprofits that we support.
The last year, 2020, has been so difficult. And for JFS, we have doubled the number of people we're serving in our food pantry. We've expanded our mental health services. It's been a real challenge, but it's also been an opportunity to work with great partners and work together to make a huge difference in people's lives. And I'm really proud of what JFS has done, but I'm most proud that we've done it together with so many great partners like CASA.
We're so pleased to present this year's Light of Hope Award to Jewish Family Services, JFS, and the Robinson family. The Teresa Rabideau Award for Volunteer Excellence was created to honor a wonderful CASA volunteer named Teresa Rabideau. Teresa unfortunately passed away, and we wanted to be sure to commemorate her excellent support of the children that she served and just her dedication to CASA and the mission. I'm so pleased to announce this year's Teresa Rabideau Award for Volunteer Excellence, and that is Michele Sewell. Michele is ever present.
I say dedicated to CASA, to our mission, to our kids, our staff, our families.
Fabulous on so many levels.
I don't know, Michelle's lovely. She just has, there's something about her that just makes her a good advocate. She's someone that people listen to, and she's always willing to go above and beyond to make sure that the kids that we serve continue to be served.
So when you have a CASA volunteer like Michele, you just trust that the things are going to get done on the case.
On this case that I have shared with Michele for 5.5 years, we've had 11 caseworkers on it, which means that there have been 11 different people managing the case, and she's been consistent the entire time. So she's able to recall people that have come in and out of the child's life. She's been able to give information about therapy in the past, placements in the past. She's got the entire record in that steel trap of a mind that she's got.
She just seems to really connect with our older youth, and I don't know if it's her demeanor. She's just very calm and collected and easy to talk to, and I think open and accepting. She really takes the time to sit with them and to look at their future and their goals, and really work with them on that and in achieving their goals.
It is essential that we as an organization are aware of diversity and inclusion. Michele approaches families from a place of learning, attempting to learn. I don't know everything about you and your situation, but I want very much to learn what that is and how I can help you. And when you come from that place, it just opens the door to establishing a really strong relationship.
I got started as a CASA volunteer from seeing CASA workers come into the school district that I worked in here in Kansas City, Missouri, where there were quite a few populations, kids that were having some difficulties, and so I would see their CASA workers come in quite often, and the kids were always so excited, so I always knew that I would want to be a CASA volunteer at some point. I have been a CASA volunteer for 5 years. I've had 7 different cases and about 15 children that I've worked with. I think the ongoing hardest thing I've had to do as a CASA volunteer is to provide resources for kids and family, and at the same time try to maintain their sense of dignity, of making decisions for another human being, and making sure they maintain their sense of dignity, whether it's a child or an adult. That's probably the hardest thing I struggle with. It's hard to say you enjoy something with such a difficult task, but there are so many moments that I enjoy. And again, kids are still kids. They laugh, they're funny, they're strong, they're weak, all those things that life brings. And I have to say it is incredibly moving to me to be able to witness that as well, be a part of it. On my most difficult days of being a CASA advocate, I remind myself that one of my core beliefs, again, is that you bear witness and you use whatever privilege you have to help others be seen and help others walk through their path in life, or the path that has been thrusted upon them. And particularly the CASA teams that I work with, I see what they do day in and day out, and they don't get to see the children face to face. They don't get to see the smiles. They don't get to see the progress like I do. And I wish that I could recognize them. I wish that they could be getting this award. I am so honored to get this award, knowing that I'm in the company of all of the people that work at CASA.
Yes, CASA is a team, and yes, we try to get to good outcomes for our kids as a team, but she is such a crucial player, and she just goes above and beyond constantly.
bearing witness, helping families down their difficult paths. That's really what it's all about. And Angie, what an amazing group of community partners and individuals involved in CASA, and no surprise that Michele shares that with the entire team. Congratulations to our honorees today. We have a very special person up next as well, Debbie Bass. Many of you may already know her. She's a longtime advisory board member for CASA, dedicated mom and foster mom, passionate about CASA's mission of advocating for children experiencing abuse and neglect. Now, in her professional life, she's the Vice President of Development for the World War I Museum and Memorial, a 40 Under 40 alum, a Centurion, and an award-winning fund development professional. She's all of these amazing things and more. You may be surprised to learn she's also a survivor of child abuse and neglect. Please say hello to Debbie Bass.
My goal for today is to provide hope and encouragement not only to kids in foster care who may or may not be served through CASA, but also to the donors and the volunteers and those of you listening to know that you may not even know how much your gifts, your time and talents may touch someone and make a difference. And that is why I've offered and agreed to share my story today. Well, I didn't have what one would call a beaver cleaver home. In fact, many people, when they learn of my life, my childhood, are quite surprised to hear about what happened, especially when they know of me today and what I do with my family and career and community. So I think it's important for people to understand that maybe you don't always judge a book by its cover. What you see is not always what is initially out there. I came from an alcoholic home. My dad was an alcoholic, and he liked to keep up with the Joneses. And so outwardly, we belonged to a country club, we had nice cars, etc. But in the house, we were struggling financially, trying to make ends meet. My mother, who I believe was undiagnosed bipolar and had lots of anxiety anyway, this just enhanced that. So there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of stress, a lot of anger, and a lot of verbal abuse. My dad embezzled money and got caught and went to prison from the time I was 12 to the time I was 22. He was in and out of prisons. My parents divorced when I was 12, and then things really got even more difficult with my mom having to be the sole supporter and she would work 3 jobs at a time, and the stress of having to hold everything together, plus already having some mental issues. She was extremely, very verbally abusive. She would also, hit me with objects. She would kick me out of the house when she would get angry, and I'd have to find places to go to live for a day, a week, a month, sometimes a few months at a time. So thankfully there were angels out there who helped me as a young person, 12 to 22, finding places to stay in those occasions, which happened frequently. I had a lot of challenges coping and finding myself and trying to maneuver through, a very difficult family life. And I remember always thinking, suck it up, Buttercup, put a smile on your face when I leave the house, and just try to project a positive image, which wasn't, of course, always very easy. When my folks divorced, I started drinking. I drank vodka screwdrivers. I smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. I smoked pot. Having kids now, thinking of any of my kids when they were 12 doing that, oh my God, can't imagine. But I was very fortunate in that I saw this behavior happening with me and thought, I don't want to turn out like my parents, and I went cold turkey at 13. But also at 13, I was still very much struggling with my mom and, of course, my dad not being there and my mom being very abusive, and thought there's just no way out. Life is not going to get any better. I'm not going to I just can't cope anymore. I can't deal with this. And so on my 13th birthday, I tried committing suicide. And as you can tell, I didn't succeed, or succeed may not be the right word, but I'm still here today, thank God. And I had many people who rallied and helped me throughout the years. My mom had many men in and out of her life and in and out of our house, which wasn't always safe for having 2 young girls. My sister's 4 years younger than me. And my mom remarried a violent alcoholic. And I remember sneaking out of the house on numerous occasions, climbing out of the windows to run to neighbors' houses to seek safety and to call the police. Many times we would do that. Protecting my sister, trying to, be each other's support. That's why my sister Lisa and I are very close. We're extremely different, and people are always joking about how different we are, but we have this very special bond because of what we went through. On one occasion when I was, I think 14, my stepdad pulled me out of bed and held a gun to my head and said to my mom, "You hate her so much, shoot her." And my mom said, "No, you've got the gun, you shoot her." And somehow, miraculously, I was able to get the gun away from them and went and hid it. And to this day, I absolutely despise and hate guns. Surprise. But I made a promise to myself through all of this, and I made a promise to God that if I were ever to get through these hellacious situation that I was in, that I would become a foster parent myself. I would give back to my community. I would do whatever I needed to do to have a better life. And that's what I pledged to do. And in wanting to do that, I also knew that the key was education, and that even in elementary school, I knew this. I had to make good grades. I had to study hard, always strive to be the best, because I knew that was the way I was going to not end up like my mother in a destitute situation, or end up like my dad, and that I really needed to do everything I could to apply myself. And so I studied hard, made good grades. When I applied for every scholarship one could imagine, and I got a full ride all 4 years to college, and knew that was what was going to pull me out. And fortunately, through the years, my dad, his last 16 years alive, he was sober. And that was just a true blessing. He was the best grandfather anyone could ask for. He was a fantastic dad the last 16 years. Unfortunately, my mother continued to struggle with her illness and her bitterness, and it was continued to be, until she died, a very difficult relationship. And I learned through therapy and through Alateen and through people helping me through, is that I just had to do what I could do and accept her the way that she was, and to love her and accept her. As I've gotten older, I was a foster parent for 2 kids, each girl when she was 17. Monique is now 36 and Kizzy is 34. Kizzy's a mom with 2 darling little girls and a stepmom and a great mother, and I'm very proud of her, and we still keep in touch. I have a 21-year-old who's at K-State, Maggie, and I have a 16-year-old Tori, who's my biological daughter, with Neil, my wonderful husband. And I have another 16-year-old who is Livia, who's Tori's best friend, who we got guardianship a year and a half ago when her folks and grandparents died. So that is one of my ways of giving back, is saying I would be a foster parent and, try to pass on what so many people did for me through the years. The other thing that I find that I would always tell my foster kids is that, you may not have your biological parents give you what you want or what you need, but God sends these angels along the way in various forms, and they are your pseudo parents or your support system and your love. My husband would joke with me, it's like, wow, why do you send so many Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards out to people who aren't your parents? And it's like, because they were my parents. They served in those roles. They were the ones who helped me through all of my life and even into adulthood. And I am eternally grateful for everything that they've done for me. And there's just, the only way I could ever feel I can give back to them is to pay it forward.
And boy, does Debbie Bass pay it forward. She is someone who walks the talk. As an advisory board member for CASA, she regularly refers people that she knows and encourages them to become CASA volunteers. She is a dedicated supporter and donor and often talks about CASA in the community. Thank you, Debbie. In 2020, Jackson County CASA served over 1,100 children who had experienced abuse or neglect. In a non-pandemic year, we have served as many as 1,260. We want and we must serve more kids because there are always more children involved with family court than we have the capacity to reach. 2021 is an important year for Jackson County CASA. This is the year that we strive to expand capacity in order to serve more children. And to do this, we need your help. Please, number one, consider becoming a CASA volunteer. The time is now. We need you. You heard from Michele and Debbie about the value of a caring adult being a consistent presence in a child's life. Number two, refer a family member or a friend to become involved with CASA. Debbie did just the other day. We have a new volunteer starting because of her. And then number three, please make an investment in CASA today. With each gift, more children in our community experiencing abuse and neglect will receive the benefit of a CASA team advocating for their needs as they navigate the system together and come out on the other side to a safe and permanent home. Please help us to serve more kids in need. We've made giving today easy. You may text to give. You may make an online donation on our website. You might notice right above me is a donation button on our website. Or you can mail your gift to our office. And just as a reminder, a gift of $100 or more may be eligible for the Champion for Children tax credit in Missouri. This means that up to 50% of your gift may qualify and be directed back to you in the form of a tax credit. Please help CASA lift up a child's voice and ensure that they receive the consistency of a caring CASA volunteer by their side throughout their involvement in the child welfare system. On behalf of our amazing volunteers, our incredible staff and board, I want to thank you for participating today and for investing in CASA. I also want to say a special thanks to the staff of Jackson County CASA. 2020 was a hard year, and you stuck in there and you did an amazing job. Thank you, staff and volunteers.
The need doesn't wait on a pandemic, does it? No. And it's amazing what everybody's done. And I thought Debbie's story was amazing. Debbie, thank you for sharing it. But I do know we have one more important piece of business here before we sign off on this live virtual event.
Yep. That's right, John. Jackson County CASA has a very exciting announcement. It's not coming up until this summer.
Oh, you had me going.
So please be on the lookout for the good news and how you can help. That's all I can say, as it is going to be a big surprise.
That's what we call in the television news business the tease. So we're hooked. We'll be ready for it. We want to thank you for taking time to have breakfast with us this morning. Angie, thank you for being my co-anchor today. Much fun. I don't do morning shows very often, so that was a long time ago for me. Don't forget the parking arms. The gates will be open. Oh, wait, that's an old script. Sorry. Next year, right? We'll get together next year. Please support Jackson County CASA. Thank you for that, and we look forward to seeing you live and in person next year. Have a great day.